natural light can be one of the most versatile and powerful tools in the filmmaker's kit. Whether you're shooting in the outdoors or near a window, the way in which you work with the natural light can make or break your shot. Today, what I hope to do is show you a few tips and tricks of how to harness and shape natural light. First, it's important to understand how natural light changes throughout the day. In the morning and late afternoon, during what we call golden hour, the sun is lower in the sky, giving you a soft, warm light that's ideal for most types of shooting. Midday light is harsher, with stronger shadows. When it comes to overcast days, these days are very easy to balance your image as the clouds act like a big softbox, helping the light to wrap around your subjects beautifully. Knowing how to use, and in some cases diffuse, these different lighting conditions is key in getting the best shots. When shooting in natural light, you don't always need extra lights, but you can enhance or control what's already there. A simple reflector can bounce light back onto your subject, filling in shadows. A diffuser, on the other hand, can soften harsh sunlight, creating more even illumination. Another great tool is a fog machine. Fog machines are used for two different reasons, or at least I use them for two different reasons. The one is if you want to soften light in the space or the feeling of the space, you can use that for that effect. The second is if you want to accentuate the rays of light coming through. In those situations, you will soften the light, but you'll also get those nice shafts of light coming into your space. It's a great tool if you want to really transform the space that you're working in. Next, consider how your subject is positioned in relation to your light source. All right, so what's the scene? What are we working on here?
Okay, so this is more djembe work. We've got the skin. There are some rings that are needed to mount, and they're metal, so they need to be covered in fabric. Then we're gonna tie some loops onto it.
Why don't we do it here? I like the window light coming in.
Sure.
It's nice and soft. Front lighting, where the sun is directly hitting the subject, is great for even exposure, but can sometimes feel flat. Side lighting creates more dimension and depth by casting interesting shadows. And if you're feeling creative, backlighting, where the sun is behind the subject, can produce beautiful silhouettes or rim lighting effects. Another aspect to consider is your camera position in relation to the light source and subject placement as well. Harsh sunlight can be tricky, especially when the sun is directly overhead. In these scenarios, you'll want to leverage an ND filter to cut down the amount of light entering your camera. When I'm shooting live action, I typically like to have a shutter speed between 1/50th and 1/60th of a second. In situations where you don't have an ND filter with you, one trick you can do is switch your camera into slow motion mode, which allows you to have a higher shutter speed. Another thing you can consider doing is moving your subject into a shaded area. This allows you to get the harsh sunlight off your subject and redirect the light as desired. Another thing to consider is working with practicals. In scenarios where you're not working with natural light from the sun, sometimes it works to use the lights that already exist in the space. Again, depends on the look and feel of the specific project you're filming, but that's something that I consider when I come and scout a location early on. Another technique is to split up your day and focus on shooting during the morning and evening. This isn't always possible, but if it is, it makes your job so much easier. As days get shorter, especially the farther north you go, the lower the sun is in the sky, which extends the hours of nice light. I always like to say work with the light versus against it. In some situations, that's not always possible, where the consistency of light is important, especially when you're capturing a scene over many hours where the light could change. When it comes to post-production, it's a little harder to cut those scenes. However, in scenarios where you can work with natural light, I tend to favor that side of things because of the natural qualities of that light, especially when you know how to work with it, whether it's through modifiers, positions of actors or cameras. They're all great tools in your toolbox to use when you know how to leverage them. Now, I hope some of these tips and tricks were helpful. If you have any questions or want to find out more, please visit PrestonKanak.com.